Committed to Miramar is a weekly radio talk show hosted by Commissioner Darlene Riggs and longtime Miramarian Sherry Abden. The purpose of Committed to Miramar is to keep you in tune with what's happening in the beautiful city of Miramar, covering topics from healthcare, entertainment, employment, to education, politics, and much more. Tune in every Wednesday at 5 p.m. to Radio Union Latina USA. Use hashtag Committed to Miramar.
Hello, Miramarians. Welcome to Committed to Miramar. I'm Commissioner Darlene Riggs, Commissioner of the beautiful, beautiful city of Miramar. And I'm here with
her co-host, Sherry Abden.
Miramarians, we have a very, very special day for you today. We are going to talk about how to save money on your property taxes. I'm so excited. As you know, my job, which I take seriously, is to make sure that I save you money because I believe that that helps you improve your quality of life. The more of your funds you can keep to do things with your families and your loved ones and what you love to do in life and enjoy life, the more your quality of life improves. So this is part of me helping you improve your quality of life. You know I'm all about health, but today's not about health. Today's about saving money on your property taxes. And I have a very, very special guest with me today whom you're going to now be my BFF.
Oh, thank
you. And I'm following all of your tips and tricks on how to save money on my own property taxes. So Miramarians, please help me in welcoming our very own Broward County property appraiser, Marty Kiar.
Oh, thank you so much, Commissioner Riggs. And I just want to thank you so much for the great work that you do. You know, Broward County is a wonderful place. We have about 31 cities. And I have to tell you, Miramar is beautiful. And the work that you and your colleagues do on the Miramar Commission, I think is incredible. It's a great place to raise a family. And it really is just a wonderful place to live. The only problem with Miramar is there's so much to do here that it's so easy just to stay here and not actually venture out of Miramar. And so...
You know, that's part of our motto. We want you to live here, work here, and play here. And we should probably bold play, right,
Absolutely.
Jerry? Bold it up. Because, you know, we want people to have a great life here in the beautiful city. And the quality of life is different in definition for all of us. So we have to include a little bit of everything. And we're known for that. We're known for, you know, putting initiatives together, and we're not going to change that reputation.
Absolutely. Something that I can definitely say for certain. I've never met somebody that lives in Miramar that dislikes living in Miramar. It is a great place. It really
sure is.
And a lot of that really is the testament to the work that you do and your fellow commissioners and your mayor does. Very
Thank you.
impressive.
And we're very proud of that. Like I said, and you know what I love about our commission too? We all have different interests. So it puts that whole picture together. You know, we have folks in entertainment, we have folks in construction, we have folks in healthcare. So it just puts that whole picture together. So whoever, you know, is a Miramarian, whatever they may be into, whatever work or play, there's somebody who can relate. So I'm loving that. And I think that's what makes us unique.
It really does. Mm-hmm. And I think you also probably have the distinction of having the only mayor that played in the NFL.
You know, and he is amazing, and he tells everyone about it. It's so funny. We have like these inside jokes about it. He's so proud. I'm honored to have all the commission and my colleagues work hard for our Miramarians, and that's what we're voted in to do, and we take that seriously. And especially me, I love helping. It runs through my veins, and every opportunity that I get to educate the community, I take that opportunity. So I thank you for being here. I'm looking forward to all the information that you're about to give us on how to save money on our property taxes. So do me a favor, can you introduce yourself? Tell us, some of the folks in your office, their responsibilities, your responsibility.
Absolutely. And thank you so much again. I just want to say it one more time. I am a big fan of yours, and having broadcasts like this and the work that you do, I have seen firsthand really helps a whole lot of folks. And I have to tell you, I love being the Broward County property appraiser. I've lived in Broward County my entire life. I have a very beautiful wife. Her name is Kelly. I always tell folks that I married up and she settled, and nobody disagrees. And We have two very beautiful little girls. They're 9 and 6, which I can't believe. It's going very fast.
Wow.
The good thing is right now they're 9 and 6, so they still like me. But I heard when they get to about 12 or 13, they go away for a while. But it is, really living in Broward County is the most wonderful place in the world to live. And in 2016, the people of Broward County were very nice to elect me to be their new Broward County property appraiser. And I have to tell you, out of all the jobs I've ever had, this I love the most because I get to interact with everybody in the county, and you can help thousands of people. And there are really a few main functions to our office. The first function is we determine the value of every piece of property in Broward County for tax purposes, whether it's residential, commercial, tangible personal property, or centrally assessed property, which are railroads. And the reason that's important is because when folks in Miramar pay their property taxes, the amount of taxes they pay is the relationship between the value of the property that we set and the tax rate set by your local governments. So the higher the value of the property, the more taxes folks pay. The lower the value of the property, the lower amount of taxes they pay. And the way that folks can find out what the value of their property is that they're taxed on is really two easy ways. The easiest way is just going on our website at bcpa.net. They can click on property search, type in their name or type in their address, and all kinds of information about their property will come up, including the value of their property and all the tax saving exemptions that they're getting. And the other way is over the last couple weeks, every property owner in Broward County received from me in the mail a trim notice. That's the truth and millage notice. I always tell folks that's not a tax bill. That's a document so you can make sure that you don't overly pay in your property taxes and that your tax bill that's going to be sent out in November is accurate. And when they got that trim notice, they now have till September 18th to contact our office with any concerns. And what that trim notice shows is a few things. The first thing it shows is the value of the property that we set for tax purposes. It also shows all the tax saving exemptions that they're currently getting. It shows the tax rates that Miramar and the county commission and the school board and other taxing authorities are thinking about setting. And it shows the dates and the times when their local governments are going to be talking about those tax rates. And it shows the proposed amount of property taxes that folks are going to be asked to pay for the 2018 fiscal year, which is what we're currently in. And I always tell people, if they think we've made a mistake with the value of their property, or if they're not getting every tax saving exemption they're entitled to, give us a holler, come on down to our office, or we'll come to you. And if we made a mistake, we'll adjust the value accordingly. If not, we'll let you know exactly how we arrived at any particular value. The second thing that we do, and this is what I love most about our job, is we give tax saving exemptions to folks that qualify. And there are a lot of tax saving exemptions under Florida law. And I have to tell you, Commissioner Riggs, we've been able to identify so many folks here in Miramar because you've put our office in contact with them. We've helped them save money. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate that.
My pleasure. And I know we have a lot of Miramarians who have been in Miramar forever. And I know they qualify for extra exemptions because they've lived in the beautiful city of Miramar for so long, longer than I've been alive. So.
Absolutely. Well, you know, the most important exemption is what's called the Homestead Exemption. Everybody in Broward County that lives here and has made this their primary home can apply for them. What that does, it takes about $50,000 of value off the tax roll that they won't pay taxes on, can save them maybe $800, $900, possibly $1,000 a year. But most importantly, not only does it save them some money, but it also caps the value they're taxed on at 3% a year, or the consumer price index, whichever's lower. So what that means is even if the market value of their home, basically what a willing buyer would pay a willing seller, goes up 50, 60, 70%, the value they're taxed on can't go up more than 3%. It keeps it low so that they won't be taxed out of their home into the future. And folks that have been here in Miramar for a very long time, the value they pay taxes on is probably much, much lower than the market value of their home because of that very important cap. And once they get that, there are so many other exemptions that folks qualify for. One of my favorites, and we've given thousands of these out since January of this year, is the low-income senior exemption. What that basically means is if you are over 65 years of age, you make under $29,000 a year, and if you don't file income taxes and Social Security doesn't count, you get another $25,000 value exemption. So I always explain it to folks like this. Imagine you live in, let's say, Century Village, Pembroke Pines. We'll use that as an example. And we've assessed your condo at $100,000. You get a homestead exemption, $50,000 of value is taken off the tax roll. You then get a low-income senior exemption, $25,000 is taken off the tax roll. What that really means is you're only paying taxes on $25,000 worth of value. Your taxes are about 1/4 of what they would have been if you didn't have any exemptions. And under that, I want to thank you and the Miramar Commission for something that you passed that I wish that other cities in Broward County would follow your lead on, because you've actually passed a super senior exemption. And what that basically means, because you all care so deeply about seniors and you understand that it's very important that our seniors, especially our low-income seniors, are able to have enough money to be able to live and to feed themselves and to be able to get their medication, you pass that exemption. And what that means is if you are a senior over 65 years of age, you've lived in your home for more than 25 years, the value of that home is assessed under $250,000, and you make under $29,000 a year, you are fully exempt from the city's portion of your tax bill. And what I try to tell to other cities is that you should follow Miramar's lead and Pompano's lead and other leads of cities that have passed this, because even though, because by passing this really isn't going to be a very large hit to your budget. There's not a huge amount of seniors that qualify for this. So it has a negligible effect on your budget, but it has a huge effect on these low-income seniors who are trying to make ends meet, and you have helped a number of folks here in Miramar, and I just want to thank you so much for that.
My pleasure. And, just for the folks who are listening who may be in a position to make a difference in their city, so I would encourage them to maybe reach out to the commission in their city. And the reason I like to touch outside of Miramar sometimes is because Miramar has what we call a focal point. So we have seniors who come to our city, to our senior centers from other cities. So I like to put things in place for them as well, because although I'm a Miramarian at heart, my primary responsibility are for Miramarians, but I help everybody who comes my way. So I want to let our seniors who are listening, who may not be Miramarians, reach out to their commission and talk to them about this super senior exemption. That's the proper term, correct?
It is.
Super senior. That's amazing, because not only do they get what they already qualify for, but because they're even more special. You can tell I have a very special spot for our seniors.
Absolutely.
Because I believe we are here to advocate for those who cannot advocate for themselves.
Absolutely.
So if you're listening and you're not a Miramarian and you are in a city who doesn't already have the super senior exemption, please reach out to your mayor, your commissioners, and express to them that you would love for them to look into this, because it benefits you. And like you said, it doesn't have a major impact on our budget. So why not?
Absolutely. You're 100% right. And may I ask a favor? Even though I live in Plantation, can I be an honorary Miramarian? I would love it.
Absolutely.
Sweet.
Absolutely. We have so much to offer here in the beautiful city of Miramar. And my goodness, the advocacy we have is priceless.
Yeah, it is.
Now, how does that affect Homestead, affect a senior whom may have paid off for their home?
Well, the thing is, even if the senior has paid their home, let's say they've paid their mortgage off, they've paid their insurance, that has nothing to do with the value that they're taxed on. So, one of the best things alive is when you get to pay off your home. I have about 28 years left, so it's going to be a little while for me. But at the end of the day, unless you're a low-income senior, or if you're qualify for other exemptions, such as you're a disabled veteran or a disabled first responder, or you're visually impaired, which can reduce your tax bill, you're always going to have to pay property taxes, and it's always based on the assessed value of your home. But the difference is, if you're homesteaded, the value you pay taxes on is generally going to be much lower than what it would be if you had to base it based on full market value. Does that answer the question?
Yes, thank you.
Oh, thank you. It's our tax saving exemptions are so important. And one thing that I always try to tell folks is you can stack the exemptions to reduce your bill. Some are very large, some are very small. I mentioned a couple of them a second ago. Some very large ones, for example, we have about 2,176 American heroes that live here in our county that are totally and permanently disabled veterans, and they became totally and permanently disabled while serving our country. They're fully exempt from paying any property taxes. That's a very large one. You have other exemptions that are very large as well. Then you have some smaller ones, such as the widow's exemption or visually impaired exemptions. But what you can do is you can take those exemptions and anyone else you qualify for, and what that does, it reduces your tax bill. And something that's also very important that falls under this that I always like to bring up, because a lot of folks in Miramar here actually take advantage of this, and they do all throughout our county, is what's called portability. Portability gives people the opportunity to move from one home to another home and not be and to pay less property taxes on that home. Because what occurs is, once you bought a home, you filed for Homestead. When you filed for Homestead, the value that you're taxed on couldn't go up more than 3% a year. So over time, that value stayed low while your market value got high. You had all this value in between you don't pay taxes on. What you can do is, if you want to move, you can buy a new home and you could take that value with you and not pay taxes on it to reduce your tax bill. There's all kinds of things that folks can do.
You're transferring it,
yes,
basically.
You can transfer it. And it gives people the opportunity to move back and forth and be able to afford the taxes of the new home.
I think we should advise our residents to visit your office before purchasing.
Absolutely. We'll talk about that as soon as we come back. And I also want to give them the website, because you mentioned earlier in reference to figure out the value of your property. One of the ways to do that is via the website. So that's the www.bcpa.net.
Yes.
Correct? Okay, beautiful. So we'll give that to you throughout the show. We'll give you some phone numbers on how to contact Broward County Property Appraiser Marty Kiar's office. So we'll be right back. Keep listening to Committed to Miramar. I'm Commissioner Riggs. We'll be right back.
Unilatina International College with campus in Miramar, Florida, is a boutique college with an applied, cutting-edge, holistic education model. Business, tourism, and communication students not only develop their field intellectual skills, but are also empowered to become holistic professionals and human beings through yoga, self-empowerment, holistic human development courses, and more. Sign up to become a holistic professional at unilatina.edu or call 954-607-43. Unilatina International College with campus in Miramar, Florida is a boutique college with focus on entrepreneurship. UIC offers associate and bachelor degree programs in business, tourism, and communications and media. Associate degree students develop their business plan while studying at UIC. Dream, learn, and grow. Join now our business incubator. Learn more at unilatina.edu or call 954-607-4344.
Committed to Miramar, committed to our community. It's right here in Miramar.
Welcome back to Committed to Miramar. I'm Commissioner Darlene Riggs, and we are going to continue with our Broward County Property Appraiser, Marty Kiar. Thank you for all of that amazing information, but we have so much more to talk about because I want to know every little exemption that my Miramarians can apply for and keep more money in their pocket. There are a few topics that we need to discuss, but before we continue, I want to make sure that I give the website and the phone number throughout the show. So Ms. Abden will update us on that information.
The Property Appraiser's office number is 954-357-6830. That's 954-357-6830. And the website is bcpa.net. bcpa.net.
Excellent. So go grab a pen just in case you didn't catch that, and we'll make sure to give it to you again throughout the show. So we left off talking about the smaller exemptions with disability, with in addition to our main exemption. Yes. So one of the questions that I get often is about our veterans. Mm-hmm. Do we have exemptions for our veterans?
We do, and thank you so much for bringing that up. You know, these are just such important exemptions that we give out, and these are folks that have truly earned these exemptions.
I have so much respect for them.
Absolutely.
You know, whenever we do something and put something together for our veterans, it's so emotional because we are in such an amazingly rich country, and the reason that we are and we have the freedom that we have is because of their service and their, sacrifice. So it means a lot to me, and it's near and dear to me, and a lot of time I get emotional even talking about it because I know how much respect and how much we value. So whenever I can save our veterans money, I'm on top of it as well.
Absolutely.
So educate us on what they can do and what extra exemptions that they have.
Absolutely. That is and I agree with you wholeheartedly. I always tell folks every time I speak to veteran groups, it's sometimes I get it gets a little difficult to speak. And I know you believe this as well. I always tell them, I go, look, I never served in the military, but I know that I'm the property appraiser today, and my kids can grow up to be whatever they want because of what you did for us.
Exactly.
And none of us would be where we are today if it wasn't for our veterans sacrificing so much. And under Florida law, so every time you have an exemption, exemptions are put in the Constitution by the people. So that's the only way you can give them. And these are all exemptions that the folks of the state of Florida voted for to amend Florida's Constitution to give out. And there are a number of veteran exemptions. The biggest one, and we spoke briefly about it just before, is the full exemption for veterans that are totally and permanently disabled. Right now in Broward County, we've been able to identify about 2,176 of these American heroes. Wow. What it basically means, if they have 100% disability rating, then they are 100% exempt from paying property taxes. Excellent. Now, the one thing is, and a lot of folks, they'll still pay something generally, because every city has, in Broward County, has decided though that even though they're exempt from property taxes, they still have to pay the non-ad valorem. That would be the fire fees and garbage fees, but that's generally going to be much lower than the property taxes. All 31 cities have made that determination, and and honestly, every veteran I've spoken to has been very supportive of that. The other, there's also a large exemption for what's called combat disabled veterans. So if a veteran's not 100% disabled and they're combat disabled, so let's say they're 50, 60, or 70% disabled, they get a percentage reduction in their property taxes that correlates to their disability rating. So let's say, for example, they served in Afghanistan and they came back and they can show us that as a result of their service and combat, they're 70% disabled. They would get a 70% reduction in their taxes. There's also another exemption for veterans who are service-connected disabled, but they're not 100% disabled, and it's not combat disabled. They also get a reduction as well. There's also an exemption that is for not veterans, but active duty military personnel. And the way that works is if somebody's on active duty and they're sent, let's say they're sent overseas, or if they're sent somewhere in America but they're on active orders, then what happens is they get a property tax reduction the next year that corresponds to the time that they were away from home and they were sent away. So if they're sent away for, let's say, 3/4 of the year, they would get a 75% property tax reduction.
Awesome. Great. That's to me, that's something. You know what I mean? We can find other ways to benefit our veterans, but this is one way to me that it's a no-brainer, so to say.
It is.
It truly is. And I'm honored to pass along that information, and I'm very proud of you and your office for, all that you do in order to provide this. So I love the fact that we have the veterans covered. We have our seniors covered. What about, for example, you're not a veteran, you're not a senior, but you have other type of disability. For example, you mentioned briefly earlier about the blind person.
Yes.
So we have those as well, because those are the folks really who may not know. Because I really imagine along the way our veterans would have known, our seniors we're always championing for, but maybe somebody with another disability may not have known or heard the information. So can you tell us about those folks, or how much do they qualify for as far as the exemption amount?
Sure.
In case they're listening,
Of course. Well, there are some exemptions for folks with disabilities that are also income. You have to qualify by income. So if you are considered if you meet the income threshold, a good example is if you are a quadriplegic or if you're confined to a wheelchair. I believe it's a full exemption from property taxes. There are other disability exemptions such as visually impaired exemptions and a few others. And what I always tell folks, if they think that they may qualify for one of these exemptions, give us a holler.
Reach out.
And, we'll talk to you. And if you do, we'll let you know. If not, we'll let you know why you don't qualify under the law.
And they might qualify for something else.
Right,
but
absolutely.
Just calling and having that conversation, you'll find out.
It's true.
So please do reach out, folks, because you may qualify for 500 here, 1,000 here, 5,000. You never know. That's money you can keep to do something else with your family, to take a vacation.
Absolutely.
Boy, goodness, do we need a vacation now these days?
Absolutely.
We multitask so much that when it's time for that vacation, it's well overdue.
Absolutely.
So can you imagine you didn't know that you qualified for a $5,000 exemption? My goodness. Which brings me to a question. If someone qualified but they didn't know, could they go back to the year before? And
generally not.
Oh man, Miramarians, I tried.
So that's a question that I get all the time. And, for our purposes, so at the property appraiser's office, I'll tell you how it works. We determine the value of property. We give tax-saving exemptions, and our money is, the way that we operate, our budget is allocated by the Broward County Commission. And what occurs is even if somebody qualified before, there's no mechanism under Florida law to go back to actually give them the money. And the legislature determined previously that they didn't want it to be retroactive because they were afraid it could make it difficult for local governments to operate if they had to go away.
That would be chaos.
It could
because I would be going back to see what I missed out on and if I could get my refund.
Oh yeah. Well, I'll give you a great example. When I was first elected to this position, I got a call from a guy named Mike. Mike is a wonderful guy that lives in the town of Davie in a subdivision called Ivanhoe. And he called me and he goes, Marty, I think I may qualify for one of these exemptions, but I don't know. And I go, okay, Mike, come on down to our office. So he came to our office, and it turned out that Mike was a 100% disabled veteran who was totally and permanently disabled, all service connected. So Mike was fully exempt from paying property taxes. So that year alone, his property tax bill went from about $4,800 to $0.
Wow.
But he's actually qualified for this ever since the inception of that exemption. So he's qualified for years but didn't know. And so he's paid a ton of money that he didn't have to pay. And, unfortunately, there was no way of going back. But what I'm very happy about is at least going forward, he'll get the exemption that he very much deserves.
Wow. See, I tried Miramarians. That would have been nice. But I also see how that could be chaotic.
Yeah.
But before we went on break earlier, we were talking about calling your office and getting information prior to filing. So we're along the same topic with that, finding out what it is that you qualify for. But the other reason too is, for example, when we recently did an initiative where you were, live speaking to our Miramarians and answering questions. And I remember someone in the audience had a question in reference to living in the property, in order for you to qualify for the exemption. So talk to us about that, because I don't think everybody's aware that you have to live. Great question, right?
It is. It's a wonderful question. And actually, the one thing I definitely want to say is I had such a great time at the town hall that you invited me to. And you know what? What I love about the office that we have is, we believe, I don't have any satellite offices. We have our main office downtown, Fort Lauderdale. And the reason we have no satellite offices is because I just don't believe it's a good use of taxpayer dollars. But what we do is we take our office to the public. And we have what's called a mobile exemption information team. And they go throughout the county every day helping folks. And to give you an idea, so far they've attended almost 1,000 events this year. And they've helped thousands and thousands of people sign up for tax-saving exemptions and with other issues in their property. And I do the same thing. I go out when wonderful folks like yourself invite me to go and speak, because I get to reach the public and say, this is the way we can help you. And one of the questions, as you mentioned, was from somebody who said, okay, Marty, how can I lose my homestead exemption? Can I rent it? Do I have to live there? What are the requirements? And the requirements are really, it just has to be your primary residence. But if you rent it, you could be very much in danger of losing your homestead exemption. And the problem of losing your homestead exemption is not only will your taxes, the value, the $1,000 that you save go up, but the value of your tax down will go way up as well. And so it could increase your taxes significantly. And so people have to be very careful what they do with their property. If they don't live there, there's a possibility they could lose it based on specific circumstances. And so I always tell folks, if they're thinking about moving away for a little while, or they're thinking about renting their property, or if they have a question about their homestead exemption or where they can live or what that impact would it have, give me a call. Come on down to our office, call me, talk to me on the phone, email me, and I'll look at the specific facts and I'll give you really good guidance so you can make the best decision possible.
Excellent. When we come back, I want to talk about what happens when you rent space within your property? Because that was a very good question as well. So Miramarians, stay tuned. When we come back, we'll give you that website and that phone number again. So far we've talked about, our super senior exemption, and I also want to talk more about the mobile exemption team, the schedule. I know they can get that online.
Yes.
So when we come back, we'll give you all of that information, and we'll talk about the 2020 impact as well. Well, 2019 is actually before 2020. Yes. So we want you to be ready for that. That's actually good news. So stay tuned to Committed to Miramar. I'm Commissioner Darlene Riggs. We'll be right back.
Hey Maria, congrats on graduating. Must feel good to be done with school.
Yeah, well it is, but I still have to pass the NCLEX test in order to get a job.
Okay, well, is the test difficult?
Extremely, and I've already taken it 3 times and still can't pass it.
What seems to be your major issue with the test?
I don't know, maybe I don't have the right training, or I don't really understand how to study for the test. And I really want to start working as a nurse. It's so frustrating.
Uni Latina International College is now offering a comprehensive NCLEX RN prep course guided by expert trainer Dr. Juan Carlos Ramirez. Finally achieve success and start your nursing career today. Learn more at unilatina.edu.
Committed to Miramar. Live, work, and play. It's right here in Miramar.
Uni Latina International College with a campus in Miramar, Florida, is a boutique college with an applied, cutting-edge holistic education model. Business, tourism, and communication students not only develop their field intellectual skills, but also are empowered to become holistic professionals through yoga, self-empowerment, Tai Chi courses, and more. Sign up to become a holistic professional at unilatina.edu or call 954-607-4344.
Welcome to Committed to Miramar. Thank you for staying tuned with us. I am so excited to have Broward County Property Appraiser Marty Kiar with us, giving us some awesome information on how to save money on our property taxes, who qualifies, who doesn't, if you live there, don't live there, what should you do, should not do, how do you get in contact with him and bug him to help you save some money on your property taxes. I am very excited about that. Miramarians, stay tuned for some more information. Ms. Abden's going to give you those contact information with the website and the phone number, and we'll continue with some more awesome information for you.
The phone number is 954-357-6830. 954-357-6830. The website is bcpa.net. bcpa.net. While I have a chance, I'd like to ask you, what is some of the information that the residents should bring when they come to your office?
Oh, it's a great question. Well, the first thing I also wanted to make reference to as well, and thank you so much for letting folks know our website and for our phone number. But something that I love is, I have my phone on me all day, every day, and I'm answering emails constantly. And I always tell folks, if they have a specific question about their property or if they need some information from me, please email me anytime as well. And my email is martykiar@bcpa.net. That's MartyKiar@bcpa.net. And
I'm glad you spelled the last name, because folks wouldn't spell it that way.
It is such a weird last name. I answered everything. Kiar.
Yeah, because I would have just put C-A-R-E, but it's a good thing you spell that out.
Oh, thank you so much.
So it's not C-A-R-E, folks.
Thank you so much, Darlene. And something that I'm proud of, when we help folks, they can either come to our office, or we can go to them, or they can go to one of our events. And we have what we're rolling out, which is called our Mobile Exemption Express. And I wanted to use Mobile Exemption Prime, but I was afraid that Amazon may sue us. So we stuck with our Mobile Exemption Express. And what that means is, not only do we have our mobile exemption information that goes out into the community, but folks can go on our website, they can click on events, and they'll see every place that we're going to be throughout the month. And for example, if they're here in Miramar, they'll see that on September 10th from 11:30 to 1 p.m., we're going to be at Miramar City Hall. We're there every month. We're going to be there on October 8th, for example, 11:30 to 1 p.m. And what we do is we'll set up our tables, we'll bring our computers, and folks will come and sit with us, and we'll sign them up for tax-saving exemptions. And depending on what exemption that they are seeking, depends on what they need to bring. So if you're going to, for example, sign up for a homestead exemption, under Florida law, you have to prove to us this is your primary residence. So we may ask for a few things. For example, we may ask you to show us your voter registration card or make that your new voting address. If you don't vote, you can get a declaration of domicile. We'll also ask that you update your driver's license to reflect your address there. If you don't drive, there are other documents that we can look at too. And it's really basically just folks proving to us that this is where you live so you can qualify. And then if you're let's say you're a low-income senior, we would ask for some documentation basically showing that what your income was the year prior, and we can walk you through that. And so
there are options.
There are lots of options. And so what I always tell folks is if you go on our website at bcpa.net, you click on exemptions, you can read all about them. You can see also on there what you need to qualify to get those. That's the easiest way to find out what you need to bring. And if you don't want to do that, you can always call us. You can call actually me directly at 954-357-6904 or email me at martycare@bcpa.net, and I'll let you know exactly what we need to look at for you to be able to sign up.
Thank you.
Oh,
excellent.
thank you.
And I love your website as well. You have a long section for Q&A because a lot of time there's some questions that are just so particular to that individual. But I played with the website because I'm like that. I'm a researcher. I like to walk through other folks' shoes to see, okay, if I had this question, where would I find the answer? So I love the fact that the website makes it easy to find the answers to the questions, because although you have simplified our exemptions, it's somewhat complicated. There are so many specific situations. So, and I'm glad that they can call you, text you, call you, email, and do everything to find out the answers to their questions. Absolutely. So thank you for that. Thank you for making it easier.
Oh, thank you so much.
I remember you spoke about something during our last town hall where if you own a property and you're purchasing another property, you can move a certain percent of that. Can you explain that?
Absolutely. That is so important. And thank you so much for bringing that up. You know, portability is something that's very, very important to the people of Florida and also the people here in Broward County. And portability gives people the opportunity to move from one homestead to another homestead and not be taxed out of that homestead. And I'll tell you, here's the reason why. Before 2008, the people of Florida had a problem. They were basically stuck in their home because if they moved to another home of equal value or even sometimes of less value, their property would get reset to market value and the part they paid taxes on would go way up. And so they were basically stuck in their home. In 2008, the people of Florida amended the Constitution to allow for portability. And what that did, it gave people the opportunity to move to the new home, transfer specific value with them, and not pay tax on it so they could afford to live there. Here's the way it works. Once they bought their home, they filed for Homestead. When they filed for Homestead, the value they were taxed on was capped at either 3% a year or the consumer price index, whichever's lower. So over time, there was that cap. So that value that they're taxed on stayed low, while the market value, basically what a willing buyer would pay a willing seller, got much higher. And so they would have developed all this value in between they don't pay taxes on. If they then buy a home of equal value or greater value, they can take the difference between their market value and their assessed value with them to their new home and not pay taxes on it, which would reduce their value. So let me give you an example. The maximum amount of value you can move is $500,000. So let's say you bought your home in the 1970s, or maybe even after. You've been there for a long time. It's been your homestead. And let's say you pay taxes on $250,000. But now you've been in your home for a long time. And the actual value of your home is at $700,000. So you have $500,000 of value in between. What you can do if you want to sell that home and buy another home for $750,000, you can take that full $500,000 with you, move it to your new home, and you're only paying tax on $250,000. Awesome. If you buy a home of lower value, take a percentage of it. Take me as an example. I bought a little townhouse a long time ago in the town of Davie, and when it was my wife and myself, it was like a palace. Then we had our two daughters, a dog and a cat, and we became very cramped. So we wanted to find a single-family home that we could enjoy, be a great place to raise a family, and that was in our price range. And I lived in my home long enough to where I accumulated about $69,000 worth of value I wasn't paying taxes on. So what I was able to do was take that $69,000 of value, move it to my new home, and not pay tax on it, so it reduced the value I was paying tax on, which would have reduced my tax bill.
Awesome. Great example.
Oh, thank you.
You know, something else I remember you mentioning during our town hall. So the new home buyers, they sometimes will get a tax bill that's different the first year versus the second year. Why is that?
thank you so much for bringing this up. You know,
I learned a lot listening to you.
This is great.
This is not my expertise, but I remember the questions because I try again to put myself in their shoes, and it's good to know the answer. We could have, we have folks that are listening that I met someone yesterday who moved into Miramar 3 months ago. Mm-hmm. So all the time I'm meeting folks who are brand new here, and I want them to know, this information and saves them some money.
Absolutely. And you do a great job of it, Commissioner Riggs. And I have to tell you, this is an issue that's so important because if you're a first-time home buyer, that means you don't have any portability because you don't live anywhere before.
Correct.
And you're basically buying your first home. Mm-hmm. And I always think that when people are buying their first home, they're thinking about two things. Is this a great place for me to raise my family? And can I afford the monthly payment? Mm-hmm. And the monthly payment is going to be the mortgage, the insurance, and the taxes. Mm-hmm. And folks know what the mortgage is, they know what the insurance is, and they think they know what the taxes are, but they may not.
Exactly.
And the reason being is because under Florida law, you're always a year behind when it comes to how you pay your taxes. And so the first year that you buy that home, you pay the taxes of the previous owner. And it's very possible that their taxes were very low because they may have been there for a long time. Maybe it was their homestead. Maybe they had significant exemptions on the property. So that first year, everything's great. Then all of a sudden, you get a letter in your mail a year later from your escrow.
And you get your mini heart attack.
Absolutely. That shows that you're $3,000, $4,000, maybe $5,000
right, and you're like, what?
In a deficit. And the reason that happens is because under Florida law, the year after you buy the home, it gets reset to market value, and so that means the value you pay taxes on goes from lower to much higher, which makes your tax bill go way up.
I think it should be a requirement to go through some type of class, even if it's a half an hour class, to educate new buyers about this, because that's something they may not have budgeted or really anticipated being such a difference.
It is. Well, I'll tell you, it's a great. What I've always tell folks is when that happens, there's nothing that our office can do. There's no mechanism.
Are you sure?
Nothing whatsoever.
Positive?
I wish there was.
Check again.
I wish there was, but we can help them at the beginning, at the front end.
Yes. So they have to call you,
right? And we try to get out to tell them this is going to happen. We work with realtors and hope the realtors will let them know. And then folks like yourself that invite us on radio stations and you let us talk with the community, we're able to let them know as well. And I always tell people, if you're thinking about buying a home, whether it's your first home, you're moving to another home, if you're thinking about doing something with your property, if you're changing your deed, whatever you're going to do before you do it, call me or email me. Use me as a resource, and I'll give you some information so you can make the best decision possible. So that first-time home buyer, for example, that's looking at a home, if they know what the prospective purchase price is, they can give me a call or email me. I'll look it up for them, and I'll let them know. I'm like, okay, if you buy this home, the year after it reassesses to market value, this is what your taxes will be, so they can make the best, most informed decision possible if they can afford that property.
And that's what I try to do for them, because again, telling folks the truth, they can better prepare.
Absolutely.
But if I don't know and I get a $4,000 bill extra than I budgeted and I expected, that's a big deal.
It really is.
That's a big deal. So they have to call your office or send an email to find out, or go online. Well, if they go online, they wouldn't be able to find out. So they do need to call in this case.
What they could do, actually on our website, if they're thinking about buying a property, there's something called, they can actually click on any property and there's a tax estimator. And it's going to ask them to put in the purchase price. And what that will give them is what their estimated taxes will be after it resets.
Perfect.
There's also a portability estimator. They can do it that way as well.
Okay.
But I always tell folks they can do it that way, or I'm happy to do it for them. Our staff's happy to do it for them. We can give them information, and they can do it either by calling our office, going on our website. They can go to one of our mobile exemption and information team events. There's all kinds of ways for folks to find out. And like just like yourself, we're just I'm an elected official, and we're folks that serve the public, and I want to make sure that we give people the most information possible so they can make the best decisions possible.
Absolutely. And I believe in telling it like it is, telling them the truth so that they can make the best decisions. So again, you have to call early, find out. And also, this brings me to that analogy, with our city attorneys. They want us to call them first before we do whatever it is we're having doubts about.
Absolutely.
So same analogy here. If you're buying a new home, find out because you don't want that surprise in the mail.
Absolutely.
So we'll be right back. We have a couple of topics we need to cover. As a matter of fact, before we go and break, I want to make sure when we come back, hopefully, because we're talking about so many different things, we remember the Amendment 1.
Yes.
We have to touch base on that. And I also want to remind folks, listen, 954-357-6830 or bcpa.net. There's no excuses. If you're paying, exemptions that you qualify for that you don't have to pay, it's your fault.
It is. And may I add one other thing if it's okay?
Please do.
Also, right now for this tax year, we have till September. Folks have till September 18th to contact our office for us to make any changes for their tax bill that's going to come in November. So if they're not getting an exemption that they're entitled to, they still have time to get that exemption for this year. So please go on our website at bcpa.net, look at the exemptions, look at your property, let us know if there are any mistakes, if there's anything we can go through, because we can still correct anything by September 18th. After September 18th, we don't have any authority to help.
Oh, no, and that's around the corner. So folks, please get on it. Do not delay. Don't procrastinate.
Right.
And what I love is on September 10th, which is before September 18th, you will be at our Miramar City Hall at 11:30.
Yes.
So folks, get out there. It's right there. You could walk, some of you, to City Hall, 11:30, September 10th, which is before the deadline, September 18th. Beautiful. Looking forward to seeing you there. Stay tuned to Committed to Miramar. I'm Commissioner Darlene Riggs. We'll be right back.
Uni Latina International College offers an English as a second language program for international students. UIC's high qualified ESL teachers help students develop and master the English speaking and comprehension skills needed for both work and pleasure. Our ESL program also focuses on cultural adaptation through fun-filled trips and cultural experiences. Start your journey today at unilatina.edu/ESL or call 954-607-4344.
Committed to Miramar. Live, work, and play. It's right here in Miramar. Committed to Miramar is a weekly radio talk show hosted by Commissioner Darlene Riggs and longtime Miramarian Sherry Abden. The purpose of Committed to Miramar is to keep you in tune with what's happening in the beautiful city of Miramar, covering topics from healthcare, entertainment, employment, to education, politics, and much more. Tune in every Wednesday at 5 p.m. to Radio Uni Latina USA. Use hashtag Committed to Miramar.
Your handwriting is so much nicer than mine.
Welcome back to Committed to Miramar. I'm Commissioner Darlene Riggs. Thank you for staying tuned. And again, we have a very, very special guest with us. Broward County Property Appraiser Marty Kiar is here with us, who has shared a wealth of information with us, from our seniors saving money to our veterans saving money to everyone saving money. So, and that's what I'm all about, educating you, my Miramarians, on how to save money, because I believe the more money you keep in your pocket, the better your quality of life here in the beautiful city of Miramar is. So we have a couple more very important topics that I would like to touch base on before we run out of time. Sure. One of them is the Amendment 1, which will start impacting us 2019.
It does. The way Amendment 1 works, and thank you so much for bringing that up, Commissioner Riggs. I really appreciate that. The Florida legislature placed on the November ballot. So when folks go and vote in November, they're going to see the first amendment to the Constitution would be whether or not to increase the homestead exemption from $50,000 to $75,000. Here's the way it works. Right now, there's a $50,000 homestead exemption. So the first $25,000 of value of your property is exempt from taxes. You then pay taxes on the second $25,000, or $25,000 to $50,000 you pay taxes on. Then from $50,000 to $75,000, you pay no taxes except for your school taxes. That's where the second exemption comes in. Now, this third exemption, which is on the ballot, is from $100,000 to $125,000. So you pay taxes on $75,000 to $100,000, but from $100,000 to $125,000, you'd be fully exempt from property taxes except for school taxes. And here's the impact that it would have overall. And what I like to do is to give everybody just then honest assessments so they can make the best decision possible. Right now it's on the ballot. If it gets more than 60% of the vote, it's going to become Florida's law, and it would be a third homestead exemption. But this is for the people to vote for or against, and I'll give you both sides. If it passes into law, it'll increase. Folks will save approximately right about $400 more a year. So if our local governments keep their millage rates the same, based on that third homestead exemption, they would get about $400 more a year in their pocket to be able to spend. Awesome. But I will say this, the other issue that people have to take into consideration is that even though they may save a little bit of money, it's going to be a very large hit to local governments. And let me give you the Broward County Commission as an example. I don't have the Miramar numbers in front of me, but the county commission is an easy one to utilize because every property owner in Broward County pays taxes to the Broward County Commission. So right now, the Broward County Commission, so I'll explain it this way. The Broward County Commission in 2017 had $166 billion of taxable value in Broward County. This year, they received about 7.9% increase, about $180 billion. So what that means is they're going to, if they keep their millage rate the same this year, they're going to get another $80 million in their budget more this year than last year. That's a lot of money. If the homestead exemption were to take effect, because when you have a exemption that affects everybody, it's less money, less taxes you're paying. The Broward County Commission would receive about a $30 million hit in money that would come in. So this year, because of the increase in value, they're $80 million ahead. If that were in effect, they would lose $30 million, so they're still coming out $50 million ahead. They could absorb it this year. But what I always tell folks is they have to be careful about what happens if the real estate market is not so good. If we have a crash like we had once before. So imagine instead of the Broward County Commission having a 7.9% increase in value, instead at a 7.9 decrease in value. So right off the bat, they would lose $80 million. That's a big chunk. And then they would lose another $30 million on top of it. And now you're dealing with a $120 million loss out of their budget. So they would have to make two decisions. Either one, am I going to cut services to the people of Broward County, which are bus routes, building projects, parks, libraries, very important services that people utilize, or are they going to raise taxes to make up for the deficit? And the city of Miramar, which is one of our 31 cities, would also have to make a similar decision. Right now, I don't have the numbers, but Miramar has a pretty big increase in value. So this year, as you're looking at your budgets, if you keep your millage rate the same, the amount of money you'll have is going to be significantly more than last year. If the Amendment 1 were to take effect, you would have a hit, but you'd still have more money coming in than Amendment 1 than the impact it would have. However, if it was reversed and the properties here in Miramar, where you'd have an increase, you had a decrease, not only would you have a big hit to your budgets because there was a decrease in value, but then Amendment 1 would also decrease it significantly, and you'd have to make that difficult decision as to whether or not do I want to cut services or do I want to increase the millage rate. And that's why I always tell folks, this is really just an individual decision. When you go and vote, you have to decide, is it worth it for me to have a third homestead exemption and save around $400 for me and my family, or is it worth it? Is it better for me and my family and my community to ensure that our local governments do not have to have a huge hit where it may be difficult for them to provide services?
That is a tough decision. It's not simple. It's not easy. But the more we educate the community, the more they're able to make a decision that they're comfortable with. So my goal, my job is to make sure every opportunity I get, I educate, and give them the facts. Like you say, I love how you say, I'll tell you both sides. I want to know both sides.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much for sharing that. And I also want to remind our voters that it does require 60%.
It does.
So, in the past, we're used to 51%, that type of percentage, but this one is 60%.
It is.
And you have to consider both sides. Yes, you get to keep, more of your income, which is $400, average $400 is a significant amount. On the other end, the governmental part of it, we do need to consider that, because I'm never for raising, taxes, because I know the impact that has as well. So it's a tough decision. It really is. It's not that simple. That's something that, I go back and forth and I try to get all the sides. Like you said, let me tell you both sides. So I love that.
Absolutely.
I appreciate that. So thank you for highlighting that. And again, not this year, but next year, 2019.
It would be on the ballot now in 2018.
This November.
This November. It would take effect in people's tax bills for 2019. It would impact the budgets of our local governments in 2020. And what I also tell folks is, well, this is kind of I think something fair to say. We work very hard in our office to give every tax saving exemption to everybody that qualifies. But, you have to qualify for those exemptions. So, there are only so many low income seniors, only so many veterans, only so many first responders. And so the impact that has to local governments isn't very large. But when you increase the homestead exemption, that affects everyone. So that's a significant value that folks wouldn't pay taxes on. And that really is why there's such a large impact to local governments.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I have a very important question that I always ask, because I think in so many different modality and put myself in so many different shoes. Here in Miramar, we're very diverse. Our primary language is English, Spanish, Creole, because we have so many different cultures here in the beautiful city of Miramar. On the website or information that you print out, are they in multiple languages?
Yes. We actually have it in English, Spanish. We're working on Creole.
Excellent.
And what I think is amazing, what I love about BCPA is I believe that our workforce really reflects what Broward County is. And I'll tell you what I think makes Broward County special, and it makes Miramar special. Miramar is kind of a snapshot of Broward County, and Broward County is kind of a snapshot of America. And the reason being is we're an incredibly diverse place.
Yes, we are.
And I actually think that's what makes us special, because I believe that folks came from all over the world to our county or to the city of Miramar, and they brought the best of what they have with them.
Absolutely.
And what I love about our office is, I can't remember the number, but I think it was more than 30 or 40 languages are spoken by the folks in our office. So anybody that calls, we have folks that can speak to them. Whether folks are calling and they speak Chinese, which we have a number of folks here in Broward County that speak Chinese, or if they speak Creole, English, Russian, there's all kinds of languages where we can assist folks.
I'm glad to hear that, because again, everything we do now these days, it has to be, thinking of the multicultures that we serve. We don't just serve one cultural group, so we have to be sensitive to that. So I'm always championing for everyone. And the other part that I need to just remind you of, it's good to not only have this in writing and in different languages, but it's good to even have, little bits of commercials going on in different languages, because a lot of time our seniors, they may, speak a different language, but they don't read that language.
Absolutely.
So it's important. So I'm always championing for that. That's always on the back of my mind.
Absolutely.
Because again, I want to make sure that everyone gets the opportunity to take advantage of all the resources that honestly they're paying for.
Absolutely.
So I appreciate that. So I want to recap.
Speaking of his office, I would like to know, your position is elected.
Yes.
And when are you up for re-election?
Oh, thank you so much for asking that. I was elected in 2016. Before that, I served in the Florida legislature for 6 years. And then that was till 2012. And then in 2012, I was elected to serve in the Broward County Commission. I served as a county commissioner for 2 years, the vice mayor of Broward County for a year, and the mayor of Broward County for a year.
Wow.
And then in 2016, everybody in Broward County was so nice to elect me to be the new Broward County property appraiser. It's been such a wonderful job. It's a 4-year term, and so I'm what's called the constitutional officer. We get all of our powers from the Constitution. We're basically separate from county government. And so in Broward County, you have the sheriff, the clerk of court, the supervisor of elections, and the Broward County property appraiser. We are the constitutional officers, and we're all on the ballot in 2020. Which is very interesting to be on a presidential election ballot in Broward County. It is. We have 2 million people that live here in this county, and we have about 1.2 million voters. And when you are on a November election ballot, especially when everybody's coming to vote, I love it because you get to meet so many folks. And I kind of predict that 2020 we're going to have a pretty heavy turnout here in Broward County when it comes to our elections. But I'll be on the ballot in 2020. Thank you for asking.
I envy you a little bit because you have till 2020. I'm up next year, March 2019. So the fun starts for me now.
Well, I can definitely tell you this. You always have my full support.
Thank you.
And what I have learned about you and I really mean this. I've had, there are 31 cities in Broward County. I get to interact with all of our mayors, with all of our commissioners, and we have some wonderful folks that represent people here. Mm-hmm. But I just love how you go above and beyond in helping the community and getting out there and talking to folks and making sure that the people of Miramar just get to live in the best place possible. And so I can definitely tell you, I think that the folks in Miramar here have been so well served by you, and I think you're going to find that they're going to reward you on the election ballot, because if there's anybody that deserves to be reelected, it's you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I take that responsibility seriously. I do. I've been in Miramar since I was 9 years old.
I know.
I live and breathe Miramar.
Absolutely.
I was talking to a group of students last night. I was invited as a guest speaker as a phenomenal woman, which I'm honored for that title. And I was talking to them about, how serious I take my responsibility. It's really a calling for me. That's the best way I can describe it. It's a calling because, my background is a nurse, and I live and breathe nursing as well. So I never imagined, honestly, being commissioner of the beautiful city. So when the calling came, I'm honored. Even till this day, I'm like, God, why me? But I see now why I had it in my blood. I really do have it in my blood to just help people and help people live better.
Absolutely.
So I'm honored, and I'm looking forward to, going through the process. And I'm glad to see that so many people are interested, in the beautiful city of Miramar and making it better. But Miramarians know that this is my heart, and I'm looking forward to March 12th.
If I can add on that, I've been now in public office now for, oh my goodness, about 14 years.
Nice.
And I can tell you that I've always found some of the best public servants are the ones that came from occupations where you were serving people.
Yes.
And, I've been able to serve when I was in the legislature with teachers and nurses and folks that made careers out of helping folks. Mm-hmm. And it's almost kind of like that's where your heart was and that's where your heart is. And you basically are just using that as you become an elected official, and your heart kind of stays the same.
You're absolutely right.
It's the truth.
Yeah, because in nursing, we're caring. And, I want to say a very, very special thank you for being here, for educating our Miramarians. Everyone, please help me in thanking our Broward County property appraiser, Marty Kiar, for being here. And again, I want to recap on how to get a hold of him and his folks in his office. 954-357-6830 is the phone number, and the website is bcpa.net. Again, I'm Commissioner Darlene Riggs.
And her co-host, Sherry Abden.
Thank you for listening to Committed to Miramar.
Committed to Miramar, committed to our community. It's right here in Miramar. Committed to Miramar is a weekly radio talk show hosted by Commissioner Darlene Riggs and longtime Miramarian Sherry Abden. The purpose of Committed to Miramar is to keep you in tune with what's happening in the beautiful city of Miramar, covering topics from healthcare, entertainment, employment, to education, politics, and much more. Tune in every Wednesday at 5 p.m. to Radio Union Latina USA. Use hashtag Committed to Miramar.